Yes. Okay. All right. Welcome today to the SAP Supply Chain Planning using ECC and APO. We have explored some of the components that are required for ECC, and then we started into APO in our last class, and today I'll just do a little review on that, and so we started, introduction into the advanced planning and optimization tool within the SAP SCM system. SCM is Supply Chain Management. So in introduction, of course, we have looked at how what the supply chain is, and we also had to further look at what the APO stands for. Okay. All right. Now, I remember, when we started this training, we looked at this diagram, and I did explain to you what it represents. So particularly now, we're looking at the My SAP SCM. So if you see here, you see that My SAP SCM is a standalone, system. Unlike the ERP that integrates several system processes. All right, the My SAP SCM is a standalone, and it's a solution that was built by SAP to solve or to further optimize the planning for supply chain.
It works for better optimization of the supply chain.
Yes. So looking at my screen here, you see market challenges facing the supply chain. These were some of the reasons why, further optimization tool was required or is required. As you know, economic and technological environments are continually changing. The current pace of change in the economy and enterprises has its roots in the ongoing process of globalization, the speed of development of information and communications technologies, and intensifying customer requirements. This constant pressure are forcing enterprises to forge new paths, optimizing the whole value creation throughout the enterprise, reducing product life cycle, and expanding their range of products. There is therefore a need to have and utilize tools that can provide deep and broad insights into the supply chain and give better optimization to the process for more effective management based on this need. SAP has provided an advanced planning and optimization tool within the SAP SCM
solution.
And then the ECC and SAP APO. Remember that ECC stands for ERP Central Component. All right, now is a version of the SAP ERP solution that uses service-oriented architecture that is used to automate, integrate, and optimize business processes in organizations. The execution of supply chain tasks can be processed on the SAP ECC. Processes like purchasing, inventory, delivery, production. Data is transferred from the ECC system to the APO system for planning. Okay, just to show you, give you a picture of the ECC system and the APO and how they relate. SAP APO is a planning tool within the SAP Supply Chain Management System. APO is used to generate forecasts that are used to efficiently manage the supply chain. So SAP APO now is used for planning, optimizing, and scheduling supply chain processes across the entire supply network. The supply chain network consists of internal locations like manufacturing plants and distribution centers, external sourcing locations like vendors and subcontractors, and external delivery locations like customers. SAP APO integrates with SAP ERP, which is ECC, execution system, where the planning results are executed. SAP provides standard real-time core interface. Now, I need to take note of that. Core interface, CIF. Right now, that core interface provides an integration, a seamless integration between the SAP ECC and the SAP APO. Right? So that is the technology that is used to integrate the SAP ECC and APO. Now, the APO is a standalone system. Remember that it's within the SCM, but then can come as a plug-in to the ECC. We could also have the results of the APO transferred to other third-party applications, if not ECC. Okay, so it's also possible for an organization to be using just SAP APO, and that's SCM system within the SCM system, and they just connect to other third-party applications. But of course, if they connect and they are using ECC, they will be able to maximize the potentials of the APO better. Now, SAP APO Sub Modules. Though we are going to for the training, we are focusing on just two of them: the demand plan and supply work planning. Then you have about 5 sub modules within the SAP APO. Okay, so the SAP APO provides 5 core modules that focus on planning and execution based on the business initiative and requirement of a company. You can implement all the modules in a phased approach, or select only a module or 2 that deliver the highest value to the business. These core planning modules within SAP APO are following as follows. You have demand planning, SAP APO DP. You have supply network planning. Then you have production planning and detailed scheduling. You also have global available to promise, yes. Then you have available to promise, then transportation planning and vehicle scheduling. All these are sub areas within the SAP APO. For the demand planning, it provides advanced forecasting and demand planning tools that enable companies to capture changes in demand signals and patterns as early as possible. It is used majorly for forecasting, right? Forecasting using historic data. Then the supply network planning that manages the supply aspect. You know, in supply chain, you have the demand flow. You also have the supply flow.
Exactly. What comes inside the company to produce and what comes outside of the company
to sell.
To sell, exactly. Demand corresponds to what comes inside. Is that correct?
Yeah, demand would come two ways. Really, the flow. The company is like just like a channel because you have the demand come to the company, supply also come to the company, but then because the company would receive supply from the vendor, but then in the context at which you put it, so it is the demand that comes to the company, and then the supply goes out of the company because the company is the one that would deliver to the customer. Okay, so this provides tactical supply planning capabilities with integration to purchasing, manufacturing, distribution, and transportation, and creates feasible plans for these areas in the global supply network environment. Different optimization engines are available, which run on hard and soft constraint supply chain models, balance supply chain costs with several levels. You have production planning and detailed scheduling, provide manufacturing planning capabilities to plan materials and critical resources concurrently, provide optimization solver for sequencing and scheduling factory short-term plans. Now, for production planning, ECC, you know, also have plans. Like one of it is the MRP that we when we're looking at the material master managing of materials, you know, we looked at MRP.
Exactly.
All right, so that is one of the. Then you have the planned independent requirements, which also you can plan within the ECC. We're going to look at that planned independent requirements. Then, of course, for the global, okay, this is supposed to be global availability check.
Okay, I understand it.
Includes the material and capacity to customer order, enhance the supply chain performance. The process helps with improving on-time delivery performance, sufficiently increasing stock to buffer inventory and planning system integration. Transportation planning and vehicle scheduling provides transportation planner to optimally plan the capacity of transportation modes, e.g. like trucks, and schedule the routes for lower transportation costs. Provide functionality of shipment consolidation, routes determination, carrier selection, multi-peak, and multi-drop. So we started looking at the first phase, which is the demand planning, which handles forecasting and to understand the demand planning environment. Now, okay, so we are going to look at some of, so this is the demand planning process, the cycle. First, you import relevant master and transactional data, like historic data, analyze and prepare the data. You generate the forecasts and apply life cycle management. You plan promotions and other events, compare and evaluate the different scenarios at that time. You can, have business meetings where you come to consensus, and then after reviewing the final demand plan, you can now release the plan. The final step is you release the plan to either supply network plan, supply network planning, or to the SAP ECC.
The central component.
So to do this, you need to understand some of these terms. First is the key figure. So you're going to be, we're going to be using key figures. All right. Now these key figures are customized within the SAP system, within the APO system. Okay. So when you come into your APO systems, you're going to see the key figures customized based on business requirements. Okay.
So it depends. Maybe it's quantity, or maybe it's monetary value. It's something that depends.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So so you have key figures, you have characteristics. Characteristics are the planning objects such as products, brand, location, customer group, and things like that. The region, the master data of the demand planning or supply network planning comprise the allowed value of the characteristics, known as characteristics value.
Okay, locations, names, value, like that.
Pardon?
Like it says, like the master data structure contains, for example, locations, the categories of the characteristics.
Yeah, so characteristics, you could see location, right? You could see the brand, the product, customer, and things like that. All right, so these are characteristics, and because when you are doing forecast, you are doing forecast based on these characteristics, but you are judging them based on the key figures. For instance, you want to find out the forecast of you want to have a forecast of sales of a particular brand, right? A particular brand for a particular location, or maybe a brand of a product for a particular location. So you want to find out based on the historic data, you want to find out the projection of what sales will look like in the next 1 year or 2 years. Right? So you put these. Now, when you're doing this, you are going to judge the forecast based on the key figures. All right, the key figures are like things like historic data, forecast data, sale promotion, corrected corrected history data, corrected forecast data. You know,
all these are key figures. All these are key figures, is right?
Yes, they are key figures. So it could be, it could also be value in terms of monetary value.
Could it be text? Could it be text like a qualitative figure, like broken or intact, or these things, or that's a characteristic?
It has to be numeric.
Numeric, okay.
Then you have the master planning object structure, or MPOS, which is the master data structure that contains all plannable characteristics for one or more planning areas. So this is the master data structure that is used to set up your planning area, and also used to structure, or will I say house your different characteristics,
categories
within a planning area.
Okay.
All right. So if you are setting up a master planning object structure, you're going to be indicating within that master planning object structure, you're going to be indicating the characteristics for that planning area. And you also have what you call the storage bucket profile. So all these are components that would have been created in the system before you begin to run your forecast, your demand planning forecast. Okay, so they would have been defined in the system. So today we're going to define some of them. We're going to define the master planning object structure. We're going to define the storage bucket profile. We're also going to look at the planning area, which is used to link together all the other parameters. Planning areas form the central data structure for the demand planning or the supply network planning, and are the foundation for the planning book. Because you also have what we call the planning book. You have seen all these things. So when we go into the SAP system now, you're going to recognize them because you have seen them. We used them in the last class.
The last class, yeah, exactly.
Yes, we used them in the last class. But then, just introducing, I just wanted to see how, we're trying to run a forecast that day. They didn't run, but we're going to set up something today and also run a forecast at least. So you can create individual user or department planning books. Planning books determine the content and layout of the interactive planning screen. you can use them to design the planning screen so that it corresponds to your planning requirement. A planning folder is based on a planning. What we just did here now is to just define some of the terms of the parameters that we'll be using to run our demand planning.